What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for episode 4 of the weekly handheld gaming news here. And we've got a few things to go over. It hasn't been a super active week, and I have a hunch everybody's kind of hanging out waiting for the Switch 2 next week. But we do have a couple of graphics drivers that have dropped for Intel and for AMD for those handhelds. We've got some stuff for handheld PCs, a little bit of Switch news, and some stuff for SteamOS and Steam Deck. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so the first thing, we did have a few drivers drop. Now, first thing from AMD, they did put out 25.5.2, but the only thing is we haven't been able to sideload drivers since 25.5. We couldn't sideload 25.5.1 only prior to that. So my guess is you can't sideload this one either, and it brings new game support for F125. I'm not sure if our current driver is going to have any issues with that game or if this driver would indeed work or not. My hunch is no, but probably if you've sideloaded the ASUS driver 25.5.1, you'll most likely be fine with that. But we'll have to see how the games and stuff test out. Still running the old Lenovo driver, which is still December dated. They haven't gotten us a new one yet. Now, if we jump over to Intel, you can use their driver updates for your MSI Claw, and especially for the Series 2 Ultras, we usually see something for those. Now, they've had 2 drivers drop. They have a preview beta driver. Really not a lot going on here, at least for us, when it comes to the handhelds, and it's more little bits of fixes, and I probably wouldn't bother with that. We did have a driver last week, though, on the 23rd that released, which was the XC Graphics Windows driver that added support for Dune Awakening, Elden Ring, Night Rain, and F125. And this includes the Core Ultra chips that we're using in the handhelds from MSI with the Claw. They also bumped up some performance here for Monster Hunter Wilds, but it doesn't specifically mention for the Ultra chips. However, I do want to go back and take a look at that one. So if you haven't updated your MSI Claw graphics driver in a while, you might want to take a look at that. All right, with that out of the way, we'll get ready to jump into some of the bigger news here for the handheld PCs and Steam Deck and Switch 2 and all that. But before we do that, a word from today's video sponsor. It seems gaming is getting more expensive than ever. We're looking at one of the most expensive handheld console, PC hardware, and games generations ahead. And that's why it's great to have a place like ENEBA, who I've used for years to save on all of our digital gaming needs. ENEBA is a safe and secure way to save on over 40,000 digital gaming products, with more being added all the time, including new and old titles, as well as gift cards, e-cards, and more. Whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, Steam, or many more, ENEBA has you covered. Need a Windows key? Yep, they've got you covered there as well. Simply make your free ENEBA account, pick the game or digital product you want to buy, and add it to your cart for checkout. ENEBA offers various safe and secure ways to pay for your purchase to make it as easy as possible. If you should run into any issues, ENEBA does offer 24/7 live support to resolve any issues with your purchases. So why pay more for gaming than you have to? Whether you're a PC or console gamer, ENEBA has you covered. Pretty much anything you need for your digital gaming life. I've used ENEBA for years, and if you're interested in saving on some gaming, please use the links in the description below to check them out. All right, guys, back to the video. Let's jump into some of the handheld PC stuff here. And I just found this one to be kind of interesting. I want to mention it real quick. That's the Lenovo Legion Go mod transforms handheld PC into a portable arcade machine. This actually comes from Bob Wolf over at Wolf Den, probably very familiar with his channel. I watch a ton of his videos, and I really like the content he makes. He's someone I used to watch before I even got involved in YouTube. But this design is really cool, especially if maybe you're getting into something with like platformers and certain types of games, to be able to set the Legion Go in this thing and have this full kind of arcade setup with this tablet. I just find it to be really interesting looking, really cool, and it's interesting on the design. I would imagine some refinements, some color buttons, letters, add some things to this, and you've got yourself a really cool looking mod for Legion Go. But anyways, I'll put a link to this stuff in the description if you want to check it out. I just came across this and thought that he did a great job, and it looked really cool for the arcade mod for the Legion Go. All right, so next up, some news from Nvidia, and there's been a flood of articles the past couple of days talking about this new potential APU from Nvidia. One of the articles here, the Nintendo Switch 2 may not be Nvidia's only handheld. A rumor says it's building a new mobile gaming chip, and I'm excited for portable DLSS. Now, one of the cool things about the Switch, and now of course the Switch 2 that's coming, is it was really the only Nvidia console, and it's the only real Nvidia handheld when it comes to this kind of stuff. And Nvidia's ahead of the game usually when it comes to their DLSS technology, frame generation, and all of that. And a lot of us that kind of talk here behind the scenes, other channels and content creators that talk about these handhelds a lot, often do talk about how we would love to see Nvidia really make a jump in on maybe this handheld market and get their APUs, their technology in there and see how that would work out. So yeah, I just find it pretty interesting here. It's something we'll have to keep an eye on, that we may see Nvidia jump into this whole thing with the handheld. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one to watch. Let me know what you guys think. Would you like to see Nvidia get involved? That would kind of give us AMD, Nvidia, and Intel at that point on the handheld. So competition's great. All right, and this next part kind of sucks, at least as far as for me, but I don't know how much I 100% believe it, because I have been looking forward to like a real native first-party Xbox console, not PC handheld, for a long time. But it looks like they might be sidelining that. Xbox's first-party handheld has been sidelined for now as Microsoft doubles down on Keenan and Windows 11 PC optimization. It looks like they're mostly going to be focusing on their next highest-powered home console and the software to run on that, and probably maybe other devices before they're really getting into their first-party handheld and kind of refining that. We'll have to see how it works out, but I've been waiting a long time for an actual console like experience, console, Xbox handheld. People have been talking about that since the Xbox 360 days, and it would be interesting to see. Now, this would have originally been in 2027 around holiday season when the next console comes out, so it's still a little over 2 years away, and this could actually wind up making its way back, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them potentially launch maybe the high-end console in 2027 and maybe have their handheld ready a year later in 2028 as Sony starts rolling out their new stuff probably that year as well. So anyways, this is something we'll definitely keep an eye on. I've been tracking this stuff with the Xbox official native kind of first party handheld, and we'll see what happens. But we should still have that third party Asus partnered Xbox handheld on the way sometime this year. All right, moving into some Steam Deck and SteamOS stuff I want to touch on. It was a really great thing this week seeing the GeForce Now native app come over to the Steam Deck. This is something that we have been wanting for a while, really ever since I got my Steam Deck and we got it working on the browser. I've wanted a native app for a better experience with more features, better frame rate, and all that kind of stuff as far as streaming from the cloud. And we got that this week. I've actually been testing it for a couple of weeks. I have a full dedicated video up on the channel if you want to check that out as well. And it definitely works better than what the experience was I had in the browser. And I happen to be a huge fan of cloud gaming, especially GeForce Now and some Xbox cloud gaming. And I've always gotten a lot of use out of it the past few years, especially on the handhelds. So this was a great one to see this week. All right, and something else to touch on again this week is SteamOS. So we know that Valve officially released SteamOS. It's actually been out for a little over a week, I think, as far as officially available for the Legion Go and the Ally and all of that. And there have been a flood of articles and tests and people talking about this the past week. And it looks like it's actually working out really well for Valve as more and more people seem to be trying this out and getting rid of Windows and jumping into SteamOS on their older devices like the ROG Ally Original or the Ally X or the original Legion Go. You can actually get a good deal on those these days, especially on sale, and spend $500-600 on the Z1 Extreme, throw SteamOS on there, and you got yourself something better than what you could actually buy with it already on there. Not everybody wants to go that route, but it's definitely something you could do. So yeah, SteamOS is definitely kind of making its move. Valve has definitely started making that push this year. They said that they would, and I actually really like seeing it. I've had a lot of fun, and there's so many more videos to make and so much to get into now with SteamOS spreading around on more devices, plus new devices coming out. It's pretty exciting. But yeah, I've actually really had a good experience so far and really like seeing SteamOS become more readily available. It's also free, and you can put it on your other devices. I also have my Legion Go SZ2 Go model here. This is with that 680M GPU. It's about a 3 to 4 year old architecture at this point, but it's what Lenovo has chosen to use. It's kind of custom from AMD, put into these Legion Go S devices. Now I have the purple Legion Go S SteamOS model, and I'm working on my review for that currently at the time of making this video, and I'm working on other videos for it. I've already put out a couple of things, but just overall, besides the few things I already knew I wouldn't like about it because of the white Go S I had already reviewed, it's actually working way better than that device did. SteamOS is just much better for that lower powered 4-core 8-thread chip that we've got there, and it works much better than Windows. So yeah, keep an eye out for that full review, but I'm actually having a lot of fun testing out this new SteamOS model of the Legion Go S. All right, and the final thing I want to hit on this week is the Nintendo Switch 2. There's not a whole lot of news to go over this week, but I will say don't give in to scalpers or people who are trying to sell these things for double or triple the price just yet. Nintendo's doing a pretty good job ramping up production. We talked last week about how they've been working with Samsung to go from like 14 million units to hopefully 20 million units by next March, and they seem to have more stock allocated after all of the pre-orders. There's going to be in-store stuff. So Target's going to have in-store on June 5th and online June 6th. Best Buy is going to have in-store besides their pre-orders. And I just got back from GameStop, putting a little bit more down on my Switch 2 for next week. And they had told me they have 35 Switch 2s coming in besides the pre-orders. And that's the ones people will be able to line up around, 3 p.m. or something my time next week to pay for those and have those ready for a midnight release. And he said to me that that's really kind of happening in different allocation amounts all over the place with the stores. So stock really seems to be moving here for the Switch 2. So even if you didn't get one yet, get a little bit inventive, see what stores are going to have what, maybe go wait in line or go early, or just keep an eye out in the next few weeks, the first couple of months, and see what you can do before you spend more money. That's really all I wanted to say this week about the Switch 2. Just be ready for it if you haven't gotten one yet. I have a hunch Nintendo's going to do a good enough job of pushing these out fast enough that it's going to be harder for the scalpers to take hold, or for you to have to wait a long time like we did way back in 2020 when the Xboxes and the PlayStations came out and that type of thing. I don't think it'll be quite like that. So anyway, hang in there and we'll see what happens. I'm really excited for next week to get my hands on the Switch 2. And I've also got a ton of accessories here from JSAUX that we're going to be unboxing and taking a look at for that as well. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. We got a little bit of driver stuff there for the devices. That pretty cool Legion Go mod that I think is worth taking a look at from Wolf Den over there. We've also got Nvidia could jump into the gaming handheld market, which would be pretty interesting. They say maybe even as soon as this year. And of course, great news with the GeForce Now Steam Deck official app, and I'm having a blast testing this Legion Go SteamOS model. There's just a ton of fun stuff going on right now around the content. And for all of you getting your Switch 2s next week, congrats. I know I'm really excited for it myself. It's definitely a platform I really enjoy. I've always been a big Nintendo fan, but if you haven't gotten one, keep an eye out, get a little bit inventive, get creative, get out there. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find one. But anyways, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.